And this is about learning how to fine-tune your intuition so that you can thrive in the moment. Right? So there's a basic quick start guide. And there are a certain number of areas that we're going to start with that are the most essential. 5 or 6, and it just depends on how they come out, whether it'll be 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, and how long it will take is a mystery. Okay, so that's the first stage. So the way I want to start with this is just with a very, very simple concept that I'm going to invite you to accept as a possibility. You have to figure it out for yourself. So I'm not asking you to believe anything I'm going to say. I'm inviting you to check for yourself to see if what I have found within me is in any alignment or matching with what you have found within you. If it matches perfectly, then you know you have verification that what you're doing works, not just for you, but it works for somebody else. If it mismatches perfectly, then one of us is upside down. And as far as I'm concerned, mine is working. And as far as you're concerned, whether yours is forward to back or back to forward makes no difference to me as long as it works for you. In other words, if I take a compass and I look at the needle, one part of it, if a properly functioning compass, one part of the needle is always pointing north, and the other part of the needle is always pointing south. Whether you label the red one or the black one, the red side or the black side is north or south, up to you. If I want to go north and I know that my compass always points south, then I know to go backwards. Right? That's it. So, and if my compass points east and your compass points north, then I know that all I have to do is point my nose in one direction and then move my left arm out or my right arm out, and I'm just going to go in that direction. And now my compass is calibrated to your compass. So even if what I'm saying is an alignment with you, however the alignment or the misalignment is, can you find your compass and calibrate it in whatever way it works for you, right? Because any physical compass that you have will point towards magnetic north, and that changes over the terrain. So in some terrains, the deviation will be 5 degrees, 7 degrees, 10 degrees, 12 degrees, and that changes over time. All that matters when you're navigating through a territory with a compass is that you know that there can be a deviation. As long as you know it's your compass and you don't smash it, or if you bring another magnet next to it, that will distort it also, right? So you want to know what these deviations are, but the most important thing is, would you like to find your compass? And would you like to calibrate it in whichever way helps you go wherever you need to go and do whatever you need to do and be whatever you want to be? Not what I want, not what anybody else wants, not what baby Jesus wants, what you want, right? Right? Does that make sense? So that's the intention behind what I'm sharing with you. Is simply for you to learn how to calibrate your compass in a manner that allows you to go and be whatever you need to be so that you can grow in the best possible way. All right, so the way that works for me in order to do that is to first recognize that there is awareness and intelligence in the world around me. Plants have an awareness in what direction light is, and they grow in that direction. I've seen it, any houseplant will verify that, right? And the roots have an awareness in what direction down is because that's the way they seem to grow, and they seem to grow towards water more than towards dry, right? So they must have some sort of awareness. Whether they're conscious of that or not, as far as I'm concerned, they don't show any sign of being conscious of it, but there is an intelligence and an awareness that is unconscious that I see in all of existence and all of reality. I'm going to invite you to see if you can recognize unconscious awareness and existence within yourself. Because when you can bring conscious awareness to the unconscious awareness in yourself, it becomes conscious. And you become more conscious and more aware, and you function better. Because as a living organism, if you are consciously aware of what you're doing and how you're doing it, well, it's like having the lights on and knowing which way to go versus blindfolding yourself, spinning 10 times in one direction and 12 times in the other, and then trying to figure out which way to go. You got to fumble your way through versus just lights are on, doorway's open, you just walk through the doorway rather than where's it? Right? So, as far as I'm concerned, Every cell in your body is intelligent. Every cell in life is intelligent. Every bacteria has an intelligence. And the very first intelligence of life ever, simplest, most primitive, the first thing that any living thing has to do, it has to know how to breathe. It has to be able to exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide, or methane gas and sulfuric acid, whatever it is. It has to be able to have an exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide. And every cell in your body uses oxygen and carbon dioxide at some point in its life. There's somewhere between 50 and 100 trillion cells in your body that all need oxygen to a certain extent and at a certain amount. When we look at the intelligence of breathing, there's an unconscious awareness. Your body knows how to breathe all by itself. You don't actually need to do anything to breathe. The first breath occurs, and from then on, you either keep breathing or you die within a few minutes. So you've been breathing since birth. While you were in utero, your mother was breathing for you, and you were passively exchanging oxygen and carbon dioxide with your blood through her blood, through the placenta. But as soon as you took your first breath, you started breathing as an organism. As soon as you came out of the womb, and the slimy, sticky, waxy stuff was cleaned off your body, your skin started breathing all by itself. But that amount of passive diffusion of air is only skin deep, so it doesn't go very deep, and that's not enough to breathe. Yeah. That said, a little aside, remember the James Bond movie Goldfinger? Or The Man with the Golden Touch, or something like that? They had a model that they painted with gold paint. They painted her entire body with gold paint. This was in the 70s. And she died of asphyxiation because the skin is the largest organ in the body. It surrounds the entire being, and if it doesn't breathe, breathing through the lungs is not enough, and the body will die. So breathing is essential. Breathing happens passively at the cellular, even at the skin level of your body. So you don't have to worry about that. Just keep your skin clean, and it'll breathe easy, right? And of course, fresh air, because in poisonous air, your skin will breathe in the poisons. And then there's an organismal system of breathing that involves all sorts of muscles that bring air into your body in a network through your lungs that allows an exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen, which then flows to every part of your body. In order for a cell to breathe, it doesn't need to do anything. It happens passively through diffusion. But in order for an organism to breathe, there's a mechanics involved with your lungs. So you have a natural born capacity to breathe. And there's many different ways that your body can breathe. It's all clear, right? Okay. So your body will have a different way of breathing, and it's evolved how to breathe throughout time. So the simplest breathing is just diffusion, and then there's the breathing of organisms, and you have lungs and a respiratory system that allows you to breathe. Breathing touches every cell in your body. And how you breathe changes the balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide in your body with each breath. It's in a constant state of oxygen and carbon dioxide, oxygen and carbon dioxide. And normally, it maintains a steady state balance that we're going to call neutral. And that aligns with what is also known as the pH of your blood, how acidic or alkaline it is. If you breathe in more oxygen than carbon dioxide, your entire body becomes slightly more alkaline. And if you hold your breath and you let the oxygen dioxide be burned and converted into carbon dioxide, the oxygen converted into carbon dioxide, then your body will acidify. And this is the major source of pH, acid, alkaline balance in your body. The main source. Nothing you eat will significantly alter that. That's a biological fact. No natural foods that you eat. However, if you eat a bunch of Alka-Seltzer, you'll alkalize your body to a point where your body will stop functioning and you will die. And if you were to drink a bunch of hydrochloric acid, you would acidify your body to a point where it would die. So we don't do that. The body naturally alters its pH and its oxygen and blood levels by the way it breathes. So you're going to notice that you're going to have breathing types, breathing styles, breathing rhythms that are going to be balanced to neutral or slightly more oxidizing, more alkalizing, more oxygenating, or slightly more less oxygenating and more acidifying carbon dioxide. And it's important to know this because your entire body is wired neurologically, physiologically, hormonally. Every part of your body, all the receptors on all of your cells have 3 positions: neutral, acidic, and alkaline. It's kind of like a car that's in neutral, in drive, or in reverse. Yeah, so you can shift gears. Your body will shift gears according to situations. So if you're just breathing normally, breathing in, breathing out in a steady rhythm, your body should maintain a steady pH. But if you start to get tight or hold your breath, or you start exercising more and you start running more than you need to, your body will start to acidify, and that will change the settings in your neurology. It'll change your state. And it's like going into a different gear. You will feel differently. And if you oxygenate your body and you over-oxygenate your body, it'll click into a different gear and you will feel different. It'll change your state. And there's a lot that happens while that's doing that. So in order to understand your breath intelligence and your breath awareness, there are some exercises that you must do to consciously alter your state with your breath. And when you alter your state, you will see how your body alters itself physically, emotionally, and psychologically. Because the entire body is breathing. Right? Does that make sense? So I will share with you later on and give you an exercise to try so that you can see what happens, how it works. Right? This has been known for a very, very long time. Matter of fact, anyone who lives in a place where there you are sitting under a tree and then suddenly a lion comes out of anywhere can figure out that you got to start running real fast. And the faster you run, the more you got to breathe. And that oxygen, that you're sprinting, gives you a burst of energy, right? And that gives you a chance to sprint away from the danger. But at some point, if you don't outrun it and you have to keep going, you're going to start running out of oxygen for the amount of energy that you're burning. You will be able to import a limited amount of oxygen compared to how much you're burning. And your blood will go from becoming more from neutral to becoming alkaline to suddenly becoming acidic. And something will shift. And you may feel like you get a second wind. You'll stop feeling pain. You don't have time for pain. You won't have time for fear. You just need to run. You need to get away because that lion is going to eat you. Right? So you can, and I would highly invite you to, practice different breathing exercises in different situations so that you see how it affects your body. There's an entire science of this that in the East, yogis have developed. It's called pranayama. And pranayama, there's I don't know how many dozens of different ways of breathing where you use these different rhythms and they make you feel in different ways. You feel more in your body or more in your emotions, or you get more tense or you get more relaxed. And I know how I feel when I breathe in different ways, intentionally. So I've practiced a series of exercises to see what they do to my body, and I've done it with conscious awareness. In other words, I'm intentionally breathing in a certain way to see what the outcome is going to be. I'm not attaching anything to it. I'm not doing anything with it yet. It's just like a yoga. I'm just stretching to see, can I touch my toes or not, right? And how high can I jump, that type of thing, right? And when you do this, you practice it enough times. Let's say you do it every day for half an hour or 45 minutes for maybe 3 weeks, for 21 days, until you anchor the habit of doing it. And then you stop doing it. And you simply become aware of how your body breathes in different situations. And you will find that when you're feeling happy or angry or excited or aroused or bored or whatever is going on, that your body is going to breathe in different ways. And if you are consciously aware of the fact that when you're angry, your chest gets tight, your breathing gets shallow and maybe a little more rapid, and you've already practiced this, there's two things you can do. One is you can break out of that state by just changing your breathing rhythm, if you want to, as soon as you notice it. Or, if it's appropriate and you have room to do it, you can go somewhere, or if you're in the right place, allow yourself to go through that unconscious breathing cycle so that your body goes through that, but you know what's going to happen because you've already experienced it. And this will allow for an emotional release. Sort of like why you would do it. So the first thing is, what you would do is you would practice the different breathing exercises with conscious awareness with the intention of seeing what it does to you. What's wrong with you? Nothing. You're just hanging out, you had a nice lunch, and now you're going to breathe in a certain way, right? You get up before breakfast, you breathe a certain way, and you do it until you're like, okay, every time I do this, I feel this way. Great. And then one day, suddenly, you feel in a certain way, and it'll bring awareness to your breathing, and you realize that you are unconsciously breathing in a certain manner. And that it's going to be associated to a physical, an emotional, a psychological, a sexual, some form of stimulus, a danger, a fear, a desire is going to be anchored to your breathing pattern. Knowing that your body is unconsciously entering a certain breathing pattern or a certain breathing cycle will reveal, will unlock the mystery of it. You may get to understand why you're having that kind of experience. And it may be perfectly appropriate that a tiger is sneaking up on you from behind. Your body was unconsciously, your instincts were picking up on it. Or it could be that it's completely false. That you're imagining that a tiger was sneaking up on you, and you it's just an imaginary fear. Right? Now, imaginary fears can have certain impacts on us. For example, on a regular basis, there's stories of Wall Street traders that lose all their money and then jump out of the window of their office. They're terrified because they lost something that's imaginary. They don't know what's going to happen, but it's so scary that they'd rather take their lives. So this is important. Another important aspect of it is that if you understand how your body works and you understand that you have certain fight or flight reflexes, and you find yourself suddenly in the wrong place at the wrong time or at the right time, and there's a situation where you see that there might be danger, an attack, or an assault, you can start, without anybody knowing, breathing in a manner that primes your body for an instantaneous, effective self-defense response. Because you already breathed the way you were breathing as if you had to run away from a tiger, and then you reached a stone wall, and now you got to turn around and deal with the tiger. But you already prepped yourself for it. And that will give you an added advantage as well. So breathing will bring you through different types of emotions, including fear, fight, flight, desire, anxiety, stress, all these different things. So you will be able to identify when your body is unconsciously going through a process which may or may not be necessary. If it's all imaginary, then you don't need to do it, and you can just stop and finish your situation and then go and analyze it later. Or you can, if it's appropriate, allow yourself to go through it and let the imaginary fear of this ghost thing that's passing by, it's not real, right? And you can realize that, well, that's not really real. There's no danger, right? Does that make sense? But by being aware of your breath, it ties into all of your other intelligences, because it's the first and primary intelligence. So the first information you're going to get is you're going to be aware of the fact that your body is entering most probably a fight or flight response in a certain situation. And that fight or flight response may be existential, which means that you're actually in the process of being attacked, or is a projection.
And that will help me to distinguish my projections and reality.
Yes, because isn't it true that when you go watch a scary movie, and the zombie jumps out of the back seat of the car and bites the pretty girl in the neck, you jump out of your chair.
Yeah, you're breathing.
And you're breathing, right? So,
It also can be in a good situation where you feel relaxed, or
you notice that when you're with someone that you're relaxed and you're breathing in a lovely way, and they're breathing in a lovely way, and you realize that you're both attracted to each other, and you're fine. You can also look at your partner, your daughter, your wife, your husband, whoever you're with, and the person you're talking to, the policeman has stopped you. And if you're aware of your breathing patterns, one of probably the most important thing you'll learn is that all bodies breathe, and all bodies that don't breathe go into stress, and all bodies that overbreathe also go into a form of stress. So anyone who's breathing in a calm, relaxed way will have a certain physiological, they'll be in their state. And if you know what your state is, right? And to give a simple example, and any man will appreciate this, that you watch another man get kicked in the balls, and you, that must, you know that hurt. It's not even that must hurt. It's like, oh, jeez, right? Yeah. So you see that, right? You see somebody get hit or car crash or motorbike accident. You're like, oh, because you've fallen, you've rubbed skin, you've lost skin on pavement before, just a little bit, and you do not. So you have a direct response to that. So when you are able to calibrate, titrate and calibrate, and know your breathing types, all the ways that a human body can breathe, and how a body feels under different breathing experiences, your body will unconsciously breathe in a certain way, and you will know what your unconscious is doing. That's one side. The other thing is that when you intentionally and consciously breathe in a certain manner, in a series of ways, the body learns that it can breathe in that manner and can feel that way, which gives you a greater menu of options for your body to subconsciously, because you've consciously learned it, you unconsciously breathe the way your parents breathed and your teachers breathed and your environment and people in your culture. And then you add a layer of conscious understanding. So you breathe consciously in many different ways to see how it affects your body, and you do it enough times that your body learns it.
Unconscious breathing.
You've taught, you basically turn your unconscious breathing into subconscious breathing, and you have raised the conscious awareness of your entire being by an order of magnitude, a scale of awareness of intelligence. This will tie in later to your intuition, because when you have an intuitive flash, and you also are aware of how you are breathing, this will give you valuable information as to which way to go, right? And
as long as I can know that this is really the experience and I'm not projecting.
That you're not projecting.
Situation.
Right. But when you intentionally practice and project a fear, and you start breathing in a way as if you were afraid, or you were angry, or you were in fight mode or flight mode, right? Then you will feel what it does to your body. And once you know what it does to your body, then you know what kind of response it has. Because it'll have a holistic feel to your body. You'll feel it some way. Just like if you walk into a house and someone is baking cookies, and you've baked cookies before, you know what it smells like. You know they're baking cookies, right? So you begin to feel something in your body. You recognize how your body is breathing. Now, the first exercise you can do right now is to just put awareness into your breathing. And notice that as soon as you put awareness into your breathing pattern changes. It's physically impossible to not alter your breathing pattern without putting awareness into it. Just putting awareness into it, and suddenly you're completely unaware of it, and suddenly now you're breathing. It's instantaneous. As soon as you put awareness, so put awareness into your breathing pattern right now, and see what happens, right? And something will happen. It'll stop. It'll start. So the next thing that you need to understand is that something happens at the psychological level, at the psychosomatic, at the mind-body levels with breathing, that most people are unaware of and they ignore. The first one, we did this in Vegas, but I want you to go through it again. Just sit comfortably, and then this is the basic breathing pattern that you can use to first learn something about how breath affects your mind and your state of mind and your entire being. And the breathing exercise is very simple. What we're going to do is we're going to breathe in at a count of about 5. So we're going to breathe in. I'm going to hold for a second and then breathe out at a count of 5. And while we're doing this breath, we're filling our entire lungs, or the entire nice, full, rich, deep, slow breath. In 5, hold for a second, and breathe out 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's useful to do this and sort of just do it without having to think about the numbers. I'm going to go back. If you do this exercise for a few moments, what I want you to notice is what happens at the top and at the bottom of each breath. And specifically, what happens with your mind and your thoughts, and how fast your mind is moving, or if it actually stops moving or not. And what you'll notice is that at the top of each breath, and at the bottom of each breath, there is going to be a pause. And in that pause, there isn't going to be a single thought. Until you realize that you've paused and there isn't a single thought, and then you'll think, here I am, without a single thought. Oops, I just had a thought. Then you breathe down and you do it again. And this is not something to be believed. This is something just to be done. You do it until you get it. Right. And what will happen is that you'll feel like for a second, like you're not breathing. Well, you're not breathing. And the body has a built-in mechanism where there's a pause button on your mind. And it'll pause for a split second at the top of the breath, and it'll pause for a split second at the bottom of the breath. And what you can even do is, in the middle of a thought, at any time, just hold your breath. And everything pauses. And then it'll start coming back. So this is the first hint that breath is linked to mind. Your body and your mind are one, they're not separate things. And that knowing your breath, body and
one separate thing?
They're not two separate things.
Not two.
No, body and mind are one. Body has mind has body. Right? The body is the gross physical part. Mind is sort of the ethereal, energetic part. But that the body is capable of being present, awake, aware, alive, mind off. In other words, in a state of no mind. And the thing to understand is that each and every one is born from a state of no mind. And slowly over time, we start accumulating content, our names, our identities, our age, numbers, letters, ABC, right? 1, 2, 3s. And this starts accumulating content. And we live in a way that we've learned how to be in a continuous state of nonstop mind. And that mind needs to stop to reset itself. It's like your smartphone or your computer, that if you leave it on for days and days and weeks at a time, it starts to get buggy and clunky. And then suddenly you have to shut it down and reset it in order for it to function properly. You have to close some windows and clear the cache and empty out the RAM, and then it functions better again. It starts to speed up. Right? So the body has a built-in mechanism for stopping the mind at the top of each breath and at the bottom of each breath. You're born from no mind, and you add mind, and for the most part, most of us never stop thinking and projecting and fearing and desiring and hoping and dreaming and chasing after goals and ambitions. And it gets tied into our breath patterns. And it has to pause, if only for a split second, so that you can feel your way through life, so you can survive. And a perfect example of this is driving a car, arriving at home late one night, and not remembering if you made a left or a right at Main Street. But you got here, and somehow the body was seeing which way to go and driving. It may be, along the way, you suddenly saw yourself swerving and not hitting some kid with a ball or a bike or a truck or a car that came out. And you don't remember thinking or even seeing where it came from. You just swerved out of the way. What was discovered is that we have a secondary sight mechanism, a secondary visual mechanism that takes a picture, a snapshot of reality every few seconds. And that actually correlates with the top of the breath and the bottom of the breath. So you have an unconscious radar, a visual tracking mechanism for navigating through the world that is available to you each and every time your mental projector is off. You can be driving home thinking about whatever you're thinking about, the football game you're going to watch on TV or you missed on TV, how you're going to explain to your partner why you're late, or how you're going to surprise your partner because you're early, or whatever the situation is. And you're driving, and you're subconsciously navigating through, you know how to drive subconsciously, so you're shifting and steering and stopping and blinking, but you have an unconscious mechanism that is tracking reality at a certain rate. Now, if you're driving too fast, between those snapshots of reality, you might hit something. Or if you drink enough alcohol or take enough substances that make you drowsy and slow your reaction time, you might miss the picture, and you might not unconsciously put your foot on the brake and steer out of the way in time, so you might hit something. So if you drive within a certain velocity, speed range, you can not think about what you're doing. You can be somewhere else. You can be listening to music and singing along, and then, whoa, I almost hit that. Right? That's because you have a secondary awareness. This secondary awareness is available to be always on to you. And it's of added awareness, added intelligence, added benefit to have every radar, every sonar, every intelligence in your body at full functioning capacity. And there's one that's available to you to access it directly through your breath. And you get to find it using your breath. At the top and the bottom of each breath that you've had every day of your life. It's been there. And if you've missed it, well, then you get to start using it. So the instant reminder that you have an awareness that is beyond mind is there at the top of each breath and at the bottom of each breath. And if you're aware of how you're breathing, you're noticing that your breath is accelerating and it's tightening, or it's relaxing and it's loosening. You have direct access to that awareness, that intelligence, which eventually will become part of your higher intuitive intelligence as an organic unity, as an organism. It's the first intelligence that your body has. For the duration of this program, I'm going to invite you to keep awareness of your breath and keep reminding yourself for the rest of your life to be aware of your breath. It doesn't mean you need to sit in this position and breathe in a certain way from one nostril into the other nostril, and that's all you do for your life. It just means that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, add a little awareness point and keep bringing yourself back and remembering to be aware of how you are breathing, and when you're at the top of the breath and at the bottom of the breath, what's going on. Then, in those moments when your mind is off, you're not filtering anything, this information will go in more directly into your subconscious. It will help awaken all the other intelligence centers we're going to talk about. Because imagine, if breathing is the first intelligence, there must be more. There's lots more intelligences that we need to discuss. When all of those intelligences are aligned up and functioning in series and in parallel, the supercomputer of your being activates and it turns on. And it is orders of magnitude more sensitive, intelligent, and capable than even the smartest intellect. And I'm not saying that anyone with a smart intellect is dumb. I'm just saying that anyone with a smart intellect plus this is that much more intelligent. So I'm all for all of the intelligence that's happening in here. I'm just saying the whole rest of the body has an intelligence that we're going to access through awakening all of the intelligence centers. One of the things that will happen when you start breathing this way, just in a neutral, balanced way. We're just doing the simplest, most
Yeah,
neutral
just
breath.
breathing in,
5 seconds in, hold for a second, 5 seconds out. Right? It's almost like when you're sleeping. It's about 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out. Take about 12 breaths. 12 breaths a minute. 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. What is going to happen is that the reality, how to explain it, the mental image that you have of reality as a visual construct and as an auditory construct, as an image of reality, which could be a very rigid, focused way of thinking, is going to start to get soft and fuzzy. And as it gets soft and fuzzy, more information is going to come through. So you breathe in a way that allows your mind to relax, and colors are going to change, sounds are going to change, your awareness will start to move around. It'll go from your breath to your eyes, to your ears, to your mouth, down your body. You'll feel it in your feet, you'll feel it in your hands. You'll feel it going up and down your body. And it'll be scanning, like a radar that goes flip, 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 right? And little dots start coming up. And this is information that's just coming through. And the whole purpose of this exercise is not to interpret the information, not yet, that'll happen later. It's simply to become accustomed to being present, alert, and clear from a state of no mind, just hanging out, listening, absorbing, feeling what's happening around you, and just to get accustomed to it. That's the first step. The second step is, later we're going to go through a series of breathing exercises that you do so that you can learn what it is that your body does, what it is that body does breathing in different ways. Right? And it's not so important to label it as I'm alkalizing or alkalinizing or acidifying my blood.
My compass.
Just to understand how your compass works.
Breathing compass.
That's right. And also how to calibrate it, because if I look at the compass function on my smartphone, when I first turn it on, it has a calibration wheel, right? And then I have to turn it to calibrate it, and then once it's calibrated, then it points to north, right? So learning how your body breathes and what it does under different breath situations will show you what's on your compass and how it works, and help you how to recalibrate and align your compass.
So for now, this is breathing. Am I holding just in 1 second and then out? Do I hold another second when it's out or not?
Yeah, you can. And then you can do it with 2 seconds, you can do it with 3 seconds, you can do it with 0 seconds, you can breathe.
You're aware of that.
You can breathe in fast in 3 seconds, fill your lungs in 3 seconds, then empty out in 5 seconds, or you can take 10 seconds to fill it in and empty it out in 2 seconds.
To be aware of that. That's the word.
Notice that however many different ways that you breathe, your body will feel differently, and different things will come up, different things will go. At the end of all the different, when we go through all of the different intelligences, I will show you a breathing exercise that will put you through what I'm going to call a pH lock shift. We're going to start neutral, we're going to go extremely alkaline, and then extremely acidic, and then back to neutral. And you're going to watch and you're going to experience what it does to your body, physically, emotionally, psychologically. And you might be surprised. If you've never done it, you'll be surprised. And it's important to know how to do this because it will blast any mental construct. It'll just burst any bubble. Anything that you think is happening to you, if you really think it's real and it's a mental projection and you go through these breathing exercises, it'll destroy it. And what will be left is whatever is real. So this is a very important and valuable breathing technique. Now, I will tell you honestly that I've spent years studying yoga and doing all the breathing exercises. And out of all of them, what I got out of it, the most important thing that I got out of it is what I'm sharing with you now, which is that this body functions differently at different breathing. But I do not practice any breathing types ever. I practice them until I learn them and I understand them. And once I understand and learn what it is, I do not tell this body how to breathe. I allow this body to breathe This body breathes the way it needs to breathe under any circumstance.
Keep being aware of
But I just stay aware of it, and the entire menu of options is available, and being aware of it is all it needs to break out of a pattern. Because if this body needs to go through a fear cycle, because there's an authentic danger coming, why would I interfere? Because I should be a man, and I should be brave, and I shouldn't feel fear? That would be less intelligent, because I'd be switching off. I'd be bypassing the unconscious, the subconscious intelligence of this body. And I've done that. I can do that. You can do it. People do. You can use your mind to decide how you're going to breathe, how you're going to feel, what you're going to eat, what you're going to be attracted to. You can program your mind to do all of that. You can train yourself to be in a certain way, and you can do it, and you can be very successful. You can make billions. You can go to the moon, and you're still missing out on something that happens only when you allow the body, when body allows itself to just be the way it needs to be. Now, if a fake fear starts coming up, it's like, you ever watched a scary movie? And there you are, and the suspense is building, and then suddenly you remember that you're in a movie theater watching a movie, and then it's actually kind of stupid. What happens to your fear? It's just gone. It's just it instantly. But when the thrill, the actual thrill, you're about to jump out of that airplane, you're going to actually skydive for the first time in your life. Until your body gets it and you fully accept that you're jumping and the fear isn't going away, you don't want it to go away. You want it to keep you awake. Right? You want to stay aware. Right? Does that make sense? So, awareness about the natural intelligence that your body has about how to breathe is an essential component in waking the holistic intelligence of your body. So think of your body not so much as a head with a heart, with arms and legs, and with lungs that just breathe in and out, and you can smoke and fill them with all sorts of crap, and who cares? Or 50, 100 trillion cells. Each one of them has its own natural intelligence. They're all working together like a team. And there's a dynamic range of possibilities. And if you go through them with conscious awareness, what people have figured out over thousands of years, not because that's all you're going to do and you're going to do it every day for the rest of your life, simply just so that you know what it's like. Just like knowing what different foods taste like, or knowing what different diets are like, will give you different experiences about yourself, right? Going through the range of breathing options adds intelligence to your being that you will not have if you don't do this. And it's one of many others, and when all of them are working in integrated manner, something happens that only happens when your entire body is functioning as an organic unit. So this is what we're looking for. We're looking for turning on all of the intelligence centers. So I like to think of the body more as like a spinal column with several different intelligence centers. And imagine if there was 10 different types of computers in your body that were intelligent, and that this one was good for logic, reasoning, and intellect. And the other ones had other intelligences, other radars, other sonars, other depth finders, radiation detectors, all sorts of different ways of probing. Right? When we send a probe to Mars to look for life, we're not just looking for water. We're also looking for methane. And we're also looking for carbon dioxide and oxygen. We're also looking for minerals. And we're also looking for traces of all sorts of stuff that indicate that life has occurred. It has many different sensors. Well, guess what? Your body has many different intelligences. And you can consciously activate all of them. And you're also fully free to continue doing things the way you're doing. But then it'll always be unconscious. There's some added value of adding conscious awareness to the different intelligence centers. And just for the sake of mapping this out and making it simple, I'm going to say that breathing is the first intelligence. And the first thing you want to be aware of is breathing, because it's the first thing you do when you come out of the womb all by yourself is you breathe. Right? Does that make sense?
Oxygenation graph. Here what we see is that the level of oxygen and carbon dioxide that we intake has an impact on the pH, or the level of acidity in our blood. where if we have a low amount of oxygen and a high amount of carbon dioxide in our blood, like when we're under breathing, our blood levels can be dangerously acidic. When we have even breaths in and even breaths out, this is where we're in a neutral zone, which allows us peak performance. And if we overbreathe or hyperventilate, then our body goes into a certain degree of alkalosis, where we have more oxygen in our blood and less carbon dioxide. And this also results in a loss of function and also puts us into fight or flight. So for most of us, in a modern life of today, we want to be able to maintain nice, steady, even breaths in and out. So if we have a low level of activity, we have small breath in, small breath out, small breath in, small breath out, nice and slow, nice and relaxed, like when we're sleeping. Our pH is neutral. Then, as we engage in greater and greater levels of activity, we want to be able to breathe in and out more oxygen and breathe out more carbon dioxide. By doing that, we maintain nice peak performance breaths. So for example, if I want to go for a run, or I'm going to dance, or I'm going to have some form of intense physical activity, I make sure to breathe deeper, stronger, faster breaths in and nice, strong breaths out. And if I have a very intense physical activity, I'm making sure to breathe in as much oxygen as I can and breathe out all the carbon dioxide as quickly as possible, because I want to be able to stay at peak performance. So this is something that you can test. And I have a series of breathing exercises for you to try that allow you to experience what happens when your body goes from being neutral to alkaline, back to neutral, to acidic, and then back up to neutral again. And these are included at the end of our program.